time to strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Braino Mattrix and Whisperer.
Mini buy done. Round 20 finished. The run home begins. How you guys going? Hope you're all well. Hope we've had a big week. I'm the Supercoach Brain, and the Supercoach Mattrix is with me as always to review round 20, mate. I don't know about you, but I'm incredibly glad that we've finished this whole bye period now and we can focus on the run home.
Yeah, it's just been juggling players and everything like that. And I rolled through with 15 and I thought, fuck, I'm going to be lucky to scrape 900 or 1,000 this week. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a mess, hey?
Yeah, it's been tricky. I was coming into today, I was on 590 with like 6 players left or something. And obviously, based on my score of 1,311, I did Captain Turbo, luckily, which was fantastic. I think it's pretty much going to be like Captain Turbo, Captain Cleary versus the rest, essentially. I think a lot of people Captain Garrick as well, which he ended up getting 80 odd, so that's fine. Teddy was well captained as well. Yeah, that'll hurt. So those people will see some red arrows, unfortunately. A few people captain David Fafita for his 80 odd as well, so that's fine. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like Turbo's 158 or whatever it was will get people a bit of a 100-point advantage over nearly everyone else. So pretty handy. Yeah, love it. Guys, drop your scores in the chat while we're here. We've seen a few big ones already. Corey, holy shit, 1449. That is massive. 1449. We got Chris.
That's a huge cock.
26. That is big dick energy. 1380 from Phil. 1370 from Jacob. 1437 from Damien Carroll. There's some big scores in here. So very, very well done to those people in the chat. What went well for you this week, mate? Where's the bragging rights?
I brought in Cleary and Turbo, which combined was about 270 for 2 trades. I looped Cleary. I was on cloud 9. But yeah, I'm never going to be disappointed about the player that I just brought in, scoring 160. Look, I suppose I got absolutely shafted. Having Dylan Edwards, Ola Kawatu, Api Coruscant being out. I always expected to do 2 trades to get probably 18 or 19 for this week. But yeah, ended up doing 2 trades to get 15.
And look, you could have, when you normally play with 15, you're probably panicking a little bit and thinking, fuck, this is definitely going to be a red arrows kind of week. And when you loop Cleary, you think you're in a pretty good spot. Turbo comes in and gets 158. So 12-17, you'll probably still see green arrows with 15 players based on the scores that I'm seeing, which is huge. So that gives you a big advantage coming into the run home, knowing that you didn't go and make any trades or force any trades you probably wouldn't have made anyway. Yep.
Yeah, like I'm still sitting there with 2 hookers that didn't play. So, I could have panicked, but I think Appy will still be good. So,
well, there's news that just come out. Appy's on the Matty John show tonight and said that he's back Friday. So,
cool.
He'll be back against the Warriors on Friday. Yep. So we can rely on Appy being back next week from the horse's mouth, which is great for owners and for my fantasy team because I have him sitting there somewhere doing next to nothing for me. Guys, hit subscribe and like if you haven't done that yet and you like the content. We would appreciate you doing that if you can get us out to more people. And for those of you listening us on audio on delay, probably driving to work on a Monday morning, hit the follow button and leave us a review. We would appreciate it. Guys, of course, the show is also brought to you by The Standard Squeeze and Ryan from Astute Newstead. I know that, mate, you're going to be on a bit of leave here and there over the next month or so, depending on availability. So I might try and get Hamo on the pod because he had a pretty good week this week as well. And I'm sure the people would love to know how deep his voice is in real life.
Hey, big mama.
Yeah.
It's deep.
It is very deep. Probably the deepest voice I've heard for a guy that looks like the way that he does. He isn't black. So,
Yeah, no, he's got an extremely deep voice, but I'm excited just to get Hamo on as well. I want to see how the big dog goes. I was on a video call with him. I've been doing a bit of work with him at the moment in the background, refinancing the old house to save a few dollars. So yeah, it's actually weird, like because we got on a video call and all I wanted, and it was being recorded. I'm presuming that his bosses
Training
and stuff look
purposes,
at it. Yeah. Like they look at it and stuff. And all I wanted to do was ask him what trades he was doing all week, but I had to wait till the call.
Wait until his boss hops off, and then have a chat with him about whether he's boosting this week for Turbo. Everyone in the chat thinking that I've got a nice house. This is just a green screen, and I'm up for suggestions. I want to make it a bit fun. You know, I changed it up a little bit, and I thought I'm going to put a sports bar looking background on, and just see how that comes across. But you know what? Let's do it every week. I want to hear either hop in my DMs or hop in the Discord and let me know what the background should be for Tuesday's pod. Get creative. We'll go with the best one each week, and we'll have a bit of fun on the run home. I reckon we've got 7 more rounds to go, so let's see what we can come up with on the run home. Mate, let's talk about this week. Obviously, one of those weeks, wasn't it, where I feel like you either hit or you missed. I don't know whether there was too many in between. And it kicked off with the Raiders and the Warriors on Friday night. Missed the Thursday game, and your boy, Forever Young Hudson, 120 points. Really solid effort from him.
Yeah, he was great. I just wish he wasn't so expensive, like 630K. Not going to say I didn't have half of a look, but with all the other second row forwards, yeah, he just seemed like a Britain Nicker in a worse team. But yeah, look, he was really impressive. Not really much else to talk to about the Raiders, really. Joey Tapp's got massive upgrades. He got like double upgrades.
Yeah, I was looking at his score initially, and he was in the 40s for a lot. I think he ended up finishing on like 52 though, or something like that. So
60.
It wasn't. Yeah, 60 in this one. But he finished
okay.
with updates. Yeah, okay. Before updates, he finished on 52 or something. So it wasn't huge, but I was looking at his score, and I know I was disappointed for what I paid for him, you know, for what we got. But 60's fine. I think if a front row forward gets to 60 plus every week, you can't complain too much. But you're right. Like Jamal Fogarty made such a difference to this Raiders team, though, didn't he? He seemed to unlock Xavier Savage, and there's not really much Supercoach relevance for the run home for Xavier Savage. You're not going to go and buy him, but Fogarty, if you're a fantasy player, could be a look for the run home as well, because he scored over 60 in fantasy, and those kick meters are pretty valuable for him. So could be a little shout there if you're a fantasy player. KO Weeks 42, probably the only other talking point there for the Raiders at fullback. Obviously not kicking goals anymore, so his base, I guess you could call it, will decrease. So if you're still sitting on a Weeks by some random reason, he's definitely a trade out now. He'll start to leak some of that coin.
I'm no NRL physio, but I was really impressed with some of these guys that come back from like lengthy spells. There was 3 of them. There was Cleary, Fogarty, and Reno.
Yeah,
strolled back in, kicked it like an absolute dream.
Yeah, fuck, how good were they? All of them. I mean, obviously there's one talking point out of that, but yeah, all of them came back fantastic, and they were all clearly ready, right? Like we'll talk about Cleary later, but he had 10 weeks off, and I think he probably had 2 more weeks than he had to, or even at least 1 more week because the Panthers had the bye in 19. So like, I think being a little bit cautious and bringing them back when they're ready is important. But Reno seemed to come back early, so
yeah, that had me a little nervous. But hey, I tell you what, he didn't look like he missed a beat. He probably wasn't. Like, he's never the quickest out there or whatever, but he just makes such a difference organising everybody. And the kicking game was sensational.
He honestly still got one of the best kicking games in the competition, I think, Reno. So, huge difference. Completely different team, the Broncos. Mate, Warriors are a talking point. Now, they've got the round 27 bye, but is there anybody here that we're looking at? Because we've got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He played fullback because Tane Tuapiki unfortunately went down with a HIA and he'll miss next week. So, is there any chance RTS just plays fullback until Chance is back?
I mean, we've always talked about how excited we'd be if RTS played fullback. That would be the perfect situation for Supercoach. But do you really have trades to bring in RTS just to watch him go up a bit? He is cheap at 500k. He's like Kale Iro money. But I won't be touching that. I think it's some of these forwards. And I think you hit the nail on the head last week when you were talking about Tohu Harris being out and Dylan Walker being somebody that's going to benefit immensely. And at 400K, banging out an 84, that was impressive as well.
Cheeky little 5'8" 2RF duel as well, very similar to a Max Plath. So if you've got Plath there and you've got Walker there potentially, you can play a little bit of shuffle around with those two maybe. But Dylan Walker, fine. If you're looking for a real left field pod, he could be actually a nice purchase. But there's one guy, two guys that we're looking at in AFB and Mitch Barnett.
I just went a completely different route to see how long it took for you to come back to what you actually wanted to talk about.
Yeah. I started with RTS and then it was Dylan Walker. I'm like, fuck, we need to get back to Barnett and AFB at some point.
Doesn't it seem like now, money-wise, like Mitch Barnett's going to be, $840 and Fanua Blake's going to be $580 they've taken a backflip on each other. I think you're just going to take whoever's cheaper because I think the upside's either way.
I think you're probably right. I think, the duel is handy for Barnett, but AFB is just, he's not 280K less as good as Barnett. You know what I mean? Like in terms of value for money, we can pick up, everyone was jumping on AFB at the start of the year, like without even thinking, like AFB's the guy you need at front row forward. He's a gun and blah, blah, blah. And then everybody just went cold on him when he had that little 3-week cold spell. Fair enough. But it looks like he's coming good again. You know, his last few
he dropped like 200K in that 3 weeks. Like there was a reason everybody was off him.
Which is ideal for us. You know, he got 37 against the Panthers. Then he had 2 weeks off. Then he got 103 against the Cowboys. But then since then he went 53, 34, 45. So that's where all the cash loss came from. And then now he's gone 69 into the 103 this week. So it could be the right time to pick him up. And if you are looking for a front row forward, he's probably my pick in terms of Warriors forwards anyway. I'm probably not paying that much money for Barnett, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit off air, and Payne Haas is in and around Barnett money. Fanua Blake might be the answer if you just need to save a little bit of cash, because I'd say everybody's going to be moving heaven and earth to get Nathan Cleary in next week. So I don't want to spoil what's happening later on in the show, but yeah, it's the elephant's in the room.
It's the question that everybody's already been asking, so it's not a surprise at all that, you know, people are going to be trying to dump as much cash as possible if you didn't plan for it. I would assume that people were planning for it regardless, though. Surely you had in mind that you needed to have some form of cash in the bank this week, ready to pull the trigger next week, even with one downgrade. Most of us don't have boots left. So, yeah, I think everyone needed to get Cleary in next week. Now it's a confirmed certainty, and it just it comes down to whether you need to free up cash with another trade or not. But Adam Fanua-Blake, Terrell May down to Adam Fanua-Blake could actually net you 100K.
Yep.
So there's a really nice option there. And Terrell May didn't really fill me with much confidence either. Even though he got the start, his minutes didn't increase. So we'll talk about the Roosters soon. But that's probably the Warriors and Raiders for you guys.
Yep.
We're not going to drag this out any longer than it needs to. Like we did say on Tuesday, for those of you that watched on Tuesday, we're going to try and condense the episodes a little bit so that we're not kind of veering off track and talking too much about stuff that isn't Supercoach relevant. So we'll do our best anyway. We just love to talk a bit of shit. So you're going to have to deal with that still. Rabbitohs 42, Tigers 28, mate. I don't think I sat down watching this game. I think I stood in front of my TV for 80 minutes watching this one. Even though the Rabbitohs ran away with it as a Tigers fan, I think the fact we're scoring points is fine. And that's where it's got to for me. I don't care if we win or lose anymore, just as long as we can actually put some points on the board. And Lucky Galvin and Talon De Silva led the way for the Tigers there. 104. A lot of people sold Galvin this week too, because they were looking at Burton. 3,500 super coaches sold Lachlan Galvin this week. You'd be spewing.
Yep. Yeah, and you know what? He probably was a hold. I've still got him there. And getting 104, getting beat. Like, we always talk about the fact that he's scored these 70s and 80s in losing sides. That's the kind of guy I need in my team that I can play in a pinch.
Yeah, absolutely. He is comfortably my 5.82 this year. Now that I've bought Burton, I'll probably trade Dylan Brown next week. I think I'm pretty much locked into that because I need to get Cleary. But yeah, Galvin is perfectly serviceable to play most weeks. And look, the Tigers don't have a bad draw on the run home. They're not a good team. That's the only reason you'd look at it and go, nah, not interested. But Galvin's playable for the majority of the run home. So that's another thing to consider. I don't know whether you need to rip your team apart to replace Galvin if he's a guy you need to rely on every week. Aside from that, Samuel Afinu, Sione.
No, Sione Finu scored the try. Samuel Afinu was only on 40 just to confuse the fuck out of you.
Yeah, 43 he finished on, who obviously he's well-owned. Not really anybody else in the Tigers is overly well-owned, so not much talking point there, and we're not telling you to buy any of them, that's for sure. So, unfortunately, TDS is going to get one game, and then Appy will be back. But promising signs for the Tigers with so many of these young guys starting to turn up. If Luai and that get a good combination next year, Latu Finu starts to come into his own, there's plenty to be excited about.
Yeah, no, there's big ups for the Tigers. Just don't expect it this year. I've been doing some short form content in Discord. Just little reviews of the game, about a minute. And one guy I have been, as soon as I saw grab the kicking tee, I was like, oh fuck, Damien Cook could be the hooker one to finish out the year. Like, just add, like, I have Appy due to that upside with the goal kicking, and I've faded Harry Grant, and that's worked out fantastically. Even if the Rabbitohs aren't winning games, I think they're going to score some points. Mm-hmm. And Damien Cook with the kicking tee, I know he's 700k, but is he somebody that people could get for the run home?
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. It just depends though, and we've said it probably every week, we get questions on, should I trade this hooker for that hooker? Or should I downgrade this hooker? Or should I trade Appy Coruscant? Has been the question of the week last week. And the answer to every single one of those questions is no, I hate trading at hooker. And it's just because there's just fuck all upside. Like, you could play a Jake Simpkin for 40 odd, and Cook could come out next week and score 40 odd. Like, he's done it recently. Cook had 2 real shitty games after people bought him. And when I say shitty, 52 and 63, you paid more for Cook to you wanted more from him, basically, with what you paid for Cook. But would your question, would I buy him on the run home? I mean, I don't think I'd trade a gun to him. It'd still feel a little bit sideways.
Yep. Yeah, I get it.
If you're running with 2 shitty hookers that are doing nothing for you, and I had to pick a premium hooker for the run home, it probably would be Cook. Or would you buy a fallen Harry Grant that is like fucking 620?
I would buy Damien Cook over Appy Coruscant. My plan was to actually buy Harry Grant this week, and then, you Dylan Edwards and blokes like that got ruled out, so I went in a different direction. But I don't know. I honestly think I'd buy Cook over Harry Grant at the moment.
I think looking at Harry Grant, he looked better. It's probably the best he's looked this year, weirdly coming off fucking brutal origin and a sternum injury, and he looked better than he has all season, which is kind of strange. But I think Harry Grant's very close to a big score. You can just see he's running out of dummy half a little bit more. He looked a bit more creative around the ruck, looking to kind of take advantage of markers that weren't square. He hasn't done that much this year. So my hope is that gives him a bit of confidence, and the Storm obviously are going to go on a run on the way home. So, but yeah, Cook, fantastic option. Tane Milne, 101, definitely not looking at him, but Keon Kalamatangi continues to deliver, doesn't he? 80 again, beast through the middle, isn't he?
He's an absolute jet. He is probably the one second row forward I was jealous of. And I reckon if Hamoli didn't have that such a juicy break even, and he didn't get picked for Origin team, I reckon Keon would be on my team. Honestly, him or Cam Murray, which wouldn't have worked out so well. But yeah, I'm jealous of Keon Kalamatangi owners, especially with Cam Murray being out. He just seems to do excellent work there in the middle.
Yep, absolutely. Alex Johnston got a score up as well, 74 with a double, which was expected against the Tigers. They leaked some points to wingers this year. I'm surprised Jacob Gagai didn't get a score in this one, because normally the Tigers leak that side a little bit more, but it looks like Jack Whiten's starting to free up that left edge a little bit more as well. So Positive signs there, but Cody Walker, mate, found his way into some fucking junk again, and I hate it because I'm not an owner, and I watch every week. I'm like, oh, Cody Walker's only on 37, and then he falls on a ball on the in goal and finishes on fucking 68, and it pisses me off.
I am not a Cody Walker fan, but somehow he works his way into my team every year. I just buy him when he bottoms out, and he's going to get you some 50s, but he is the king of the junk. Absolute king of it. Look, we haven't seen that huge score from him this year, but 68 on a week when I really, really needed him, mate, that's fantastic.
Huge.
Jai Gray as well, the backup 5'8" for a lot of people, picked him up for 280k, 58, and you know what? It might be a week late, but that person that gave me an absolute spray for saying that that Jaden Campbell had the same upside as that. I hope you were watching Jaden Campbell's game today. So
yeah, it's funny. We can now gloat because he scored shit, but he still put 400 points in our heads last 5 weeks.
I'm stirring.
It's
stirring.
It's like the guy when you're playing down in your B grade for the Motherlickers, right? And you hit a couple of baskets over the top of your opponent, the guy guarding you, but he's already got 35 on you. But you fucking rub into him anyway when you put one on him. That's like this.
This bloke on the other team, I hit me first 3 the other night. Anyway, and the best player from their team, they were trying to inbound it, and I never let anyone run through the key without copping a shoulder or copping an elbow or copying something. So he's grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, and I've just looked at him. I've just put my hand in the air, and I've just said, "Fuck your shit if you're picking a fight with me."
Yeah, that's even worse because he can't even fucking come back at you.
He can't even. I've just ripped out anything. Like, he can't say, "Oh, fuck your shit." I was like, "Mate, I am shit, and I'm cooking you." So,
and you're like B Rabbit in 8 Mile, where he fucking disses himself for his whole rap, so that the other guy can't fucking say anything about him. That's genius.
Perfect.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart. Tallis Duncan, 56, solid. I'm glad he's getting some minutes. I'm hoping that he takes advantage of Cam Murray being out the next week or two, because I like Tallis Duncan's game. And yes, sorry, Ange, trying to shorten the show, but talk about Sunday League basketball.
You're welcome.
Yeah, old habits die hard. My pod of the week, so Tuesday, pod of the week segment, we pick one each. Jack Whiten was mine, 53 this week. Not bad, but I think I beat yours, Connor Watson. So I think it might be 1-0 to me.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I didn't realize it's a competition, but I'll give you that.
Everything is a competition,
when I'm winning.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Otherwise, guys, not much else going on there for the Rabbitohs or the Tigers. 2 teams that are out of the 8, and Tigers are definitely in the running for the spoon. Rabbitohs probably need to win next week to keep their hopes alive, you'd think.
And if they lose that, I don't see Latrell coming back either. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If they're not making finals, Latrell's not coming back. He's going to get that surgery done, and we'll see him next year.
Yeah, 100% agree. Next one, mate, your Broncos, 30-14 winners over the Newcastle Knights. Pretty comprehensive win in the end, wasn't it? Like a little bit of junk for Greg Marju at the end, which was fantastic for the majority of us, but you guys were way too good, and Reece Walsh was electric.
It was actually great just being able to sit down and watch this game, not having any Supercoach assets in either team. But yeah, Reece Walsh was an absolute unit. I think A-Ray freed him up a little bit as well. A couple of those Queensland guys, and it's funny that Payne Haas scored probably one of his, or actually after updates, it wasn't too bad. But these guys, really put out these Queenslanders because they'd just copped a bit of it wasn't a caning on Wednesday night, but they just got beat comprehensively. And Payne Haas was a little bit down. Look, we had a point to prove. There was a few guys on the Knights like Bradman Best and stuff. I could just see it getting a bit heated early. But Walsh was special. He was something else.
All of us turbo purchasers were sitting there going, well, guess we picked the wrong fullback. Because Walsh looked like no one could touch him. You had bloody spiders on him all night. And that's kind of what you expected. But, I didn't expect him to be that good or look that good. So, yeah, lots of positives there for Reece Walsh. And if you went with Walsh over Turbo, it's 1 week. Like, we just don't know what's going to happen for the next 6, so it still could be the right play.
Never be disappointed with 100-plus score.
Nah, not at all. Dean Mariner was awesome as well, 124. Bit of a pod there, but I'm not overly keen. Just he needs to do tons to score Supercoach points. So
yeah, and especially I hate it even more in the centers, to be honest.
Yeah. Weirdly, he scored better in the centers, didn't he, than he did in the wing? But
yeah,
base up, a little bit and scored some tries and connected really well with Walsh. Otherwise, mate, Payne Haas, 57, which is probably good for non-owners. I think you'd be pretty happy with that. He's not going to drop too much cash, maybe 695 next week. And we were talking about front row forward, probably preferring AFB just at the price point, because that 100 plus K that you're going to get in difference between AFB and Haas can be the difference between you making your final upgrade to finish your team or being able to afford a Gus Crichton or one of those guys that you actually want. So, the money makes a big difference at this point of the year.
Yep. Yeah. And it sounds like he's going to be sitting around that 690K. Yes, he's probably bottomed out, but do you want to be spending that in front row forward?
No. Last one on Broncos, mate. Jesse Arthurs has seemingly been unlocked by Renault. I think Aman, shout out to Aman. I think he's streaming right now, Aman, as well, doing his wrap up for the week. Aman put the stats together, and Arthur's average is, I think, 52 with Reynolds in the team, and then it was like 27 without him. So pretty much double the output with Reynolds.
Yeah, how good is it? So Aman asked me as a Broncos fan, like, oh, should I buy Jesse Arthurs? I'm like, oh, if Renault's playing, Jesse Arthurs is better. He goes and takes it. He comes back an hour later with this stat and this graph, and I was like, oh, I was just like saying he just seems to score better and get better ball and everything. But yeah, no, Aman is an absolute unit with all that data. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is for sure. I'm sure he's talking about Arthurs right now.
Can I throw one thing out there? We spoke about turbo owners. We spoke about people, you had all this money to spend with Dylan Edwards being out, with using Latrell money, with whatever you were doing. Quite often the chatter was Reece Walsh, Turbo, and then it was Kalen Ponga. Well, you'd be in a world of hurt if it was Kalen Ponga. I'm sorry. You're in my thoughts and prayers.
He got 49. Like he didn't score 15, but I tell you what, it was looking that way pretty early on. Like and also now we've got to look at other nights actually a team where you want to own anybody. As like we're all stuck with Marju now. Do you really want to load up on the Knights knowing that they might miss the 8, they might finish the year really poorly? We thought Kalen Ponga coming back into this team would lift them up. They come up against a pretty bloody hungry Broncos team, though, to be fair to them. So, do we still believe in Ponga? I think now that we've seen Turbo and Walsh bang out these scores, it's kind of like we'd need to see something from Ponga if we wanted to jump on. And round 23 is that time to do that, I think. So we've only got one more look. They've got to bye next week. And then they play round 22 against the Panthers. So I don't know whether we're going to see enough from Ponga.
I quite often get asked these questions and they're like, would you bring in Ponga? And I'm like, no. But in round 23, if I was 20,000th, that's something I would do. Like, you know what? You get nothing, bragging to your mates about the fact that you grinded away, you're 20,000th and you finished 16,000th. If you're 20,000th, finish 30,000th and get some wrong, because Kalen Ponga is somebody that has tremendous upside. I think, did he touch 1 million last year? He got very damn close.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
And that's a guy you want to own, and we're going, again, we looked at Nathan Cleary last year and the year before as an example, misses a lot of time through injury. And then, but there's question marks around, do we want to buy Nathan Cleary off the back of an injury? You just pick up guys like this because they're that good. And Kalen Ponga, as much as this looked ordinary from him this game, I think that from round 23, regardless of how he looks, he's one of those players you can buy on pedigree, not on form. And yep. I think we're going to be talking on round 23 about just picking up Ponga. If your head-to-head finals are starting and you want a differential, or you feel like you're a little bit behind or whatever in round 23 in your quarterfinals, then Ponga could be a fantastic differential play.
Yep. With this team, there's not much else I want to talk about. I know we've talked all year about Dylan Lucas and Kai Pearce-Paul. Gee, I'm glad I'm not a Kai Pearce-Paul owner. It was so exciting owning him in that first 4 or 5 weeks, but gee, it's been a drag after that.
Kai, I've owned him the whole season. Started with him.
You still own him?
Still own him now. Yep. I traded Curran instead of him because I needed the number last week, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I don't think I'd play Curran too much anyway because I've got May and Tarpany. But he's definitely moving on next week. He's my ticket to Gus. I just need to work out whether I can do it next week or the week after. I might have to wait on Gus a week, which I don't love doing, but Cleary's a priority. And Terrell May might start to leak some cash, so I might need to go to AFB and free up that cash to then get to Gus. So that's probably the way I'm looking at it.
You can't go May to Gus via Jules?
May to Gus I could do. I just end up, actually, no, I can't anymore because I don't have current at 2RF. No, I can't do it anymore.
There's another kick in the dick.
Yeah. So Curran could have come in clutch for me in a number of ways, but that's all right. We'll talk about him at the end. But Kai Pearce-Paul probably a sell. We'll talk about it on Tuesday, but he's your ticket now to go up to a keeper, I think, for the run home. And there are a few guys at 2RF putting their hand up. So I think his time is up. He has I tell you what, though, Kai Pearce-Paul has a PhD in running at defenders. Has a bloke ever hit a hole in his career? Like, it is insane how he can he's a magnet for defenders. He just gets 2 or 3 blokes on him every single time.
But the coaching staff has to be into him just because, like, he is such a big presence. Like, have you ever looked at somebody and thought, you look like more of a footballer than Kai Pearce-Paul does?
No, you're right. You know what? He also looks like a guy that could comfortably play the 5 in the NBA and just walk out there and play center. But then again, he probably how tall is Kai Pearce-Paul? 6'6". So he's probably not like maybe shooting guard, small forward at best. But he's a big boy. But
he wouldn't be able to get open there either.
No, probably not. Goes to cut and just bounces off the guy on the wing. But yeah, he's a trade, unfortunately, for next week. He's a nice little ticket to whoever you want at 2RF if you've got some coin. Mate, let's get on to the 4th game, the Storm and the Roosters. Many were thinking that this would be the game of the round, and unfortunately it was the game with kind of the only game with rain this weekend. So the Storm, though, comprehensive winners against the Roosters. I kind of thought this would be a bit closer.
Yeah, I mean, the Roosters are pretenders, so I'm just glad that we all get to see that in the open in prime time on a Saturday night.
Frauds, you reckon?
I don't know. Like, alarm bells when you start to see those stats of the Roosters against the best teams in the comp, I just get like shades of Sharks in the last couple of years. But the Roosters have come really good this year. Excellent for Supercoach. Absolutely phenomenal for Supercoach. They score a lot of points. And they're flat track bullies. Like, they just pump. When they are playing a team like the Knights, they would have won 60-0. The Knights were ordinary the other night. They would have put them to the sword. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't see the Roosters going that far from a fan perspective after we get past round 27.
Yeah. There's some warning signs for both of these teams. It was quite a sloppy game, to be honest. Like, lots of errors. Completion rates are pretty ordinary, to be fair, for both teams. I expected more from an eye test perspective. At the end of the day, the score was fine. It was back and forth a little bit because both teams were as bad as each other, but it just wasn't a quality game of football. So, yeah, concerns there. But again, you're right. You're spot on with the whole flat track bully thing. I know the Roosters, with their friendly draw on the run home, are going to absolutely fucking pepper some sides on they're going to put 50 on some teams on the run home. And your Teddies, your Youngs, your Tupos, these guys are going to feast. I reckon even Sam Walker could. But I guess, first of all, you found a way to offend like two fan bases at once in the Sharks and the Roosters by saying that they're like the Roosters from last year. So congratulations on that. Seriously good effort.
No, you're welcome. I might offend some Storm fans here too. Grant Anderson was the best player for the Melbourne Storm. I don't care if you've got all these other stars out there. Grant Anderson, that was phenomenal. Take a bow, my friend.
It was good, wasn't he? Yeah, he had that.
You no longer deserve to be in reserve grade. And I've probably been a bit of a critic in the past, but he's turned me around.
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone was talking about him being an amazing nuff last year, and I think a lot of us bought him in as a nuff last year because he was that kind of bottom dollar cheapie guy that appeared in like round 21 and then disappeared. But he was good. He did have a hyperextension at the back end of the game of that knee, like in the last play when he got tackled off the ball after he kicked it. But apparently physio reckons he could be all good. So no need to stress, guys. All of you guys that are owners of Grant Anderson, he should be okay. He could be back next week. But Gus Crichton somehow got a fucking 20-point upgrade. What is it with the players that I don't own getting massive upgrades this week? Killing me. I'm going to wake up to Nathan Cleary at 50.
Fuck up. You've got Terrell May, and I was cheering at his 40, and he got 54. Just take what you're given. But Gus Crichton deserved it. He was in everything, and he just jaws at people. I love Gus Crichton.
He was. It's like he hadn't slept since Wednesday night, since New South Wales won. And we haven't talked about the Origin yet, but maybe we don't need to. But yeah, Gus was fantastic. He was awesome. And for a guy who played like 70 minutes was it in Origin? He only went off of that HIA and then came straight back on. Like, to play at that kind of intensity for that long in two fucking real tough games is a serious effort. And I can guarantee you that the Roosters training staff are going to him going, mate, you need a break. We want to rest you. We don't want you to play football. You need to rest. And he's going, fuck off. I'm playing 80. That's just the kind of guy that I reckon he'd be. See him like blowing up at people in the fucking circle after they scored a try and stuff. Like he's just fucking screaming at everybody. That's the kind of guy I want in my Supercoach team. So I'm going to do everything I can to get him in.
Yeah, still an owner, and very happy. Like I know, and like he did top score, but 74. We've seen him, touch 100 this year. Dom Young in a team that got pumped, 72. I will never complain about that.
No, not at all. Sorry, caught me mid cough.
Me too.
Dom Young, pretty solid, and I mean most people that are in the hunt, they own him, so no need to really go into too much depth with him. Who else? Victor Radley got sin binned again. Can we add that to the list of things to talk about? It's like death taxes and Radley getting sin bin. There was a person that went to the fucking ground as a Roosters supporter with a fucking black bin sitting in the crowd saying, Radley, get in it. Like that's how often he gets sin binned. It is crazy. So 62 for him. Did I just see updates that just happened for this game, or did it happen beforehand?
No, I've got him at 62 there. That's all good. The funny thing is, so Connor Watson was one of those guys that got brought in a lot this week. I was one of the guys that really hoped he was on the list there with Damo Cook and those blokes. If I was trading Appy out, 38's disappointing. But you have to scroll a lot further down to get to James Tedesco, 33. And like, I kind of get it. Like Connor Watson was probably still drunk from Wednesday night, but James Tedesco, 33, Storm were all over him like a rash. It was like white on rice out there.
It was. 23 points in runs is incredibly rare for Teddy. Like normally that's 35 plus. So no attack there for him either, obviously, because they only scored 8 points. But yeah, like no need to panic, of course. Like if we're Teddy's still the fullback one for the run home, I think. I don't think that's going to change, especially with the Roosters draw. So no need to panic on Teddy. Just unfortunate for those of you that captained him. In hindsight, probably not the best decision to captain him in the rain against the Storm in Melbourne. But again, it's unfortunately you made your bet on that one.
I was disappointed I couldn't get a vice captain on him, regardless of rain. Tedesco sometimes, when it's a little bit wet, does seem to like slip through and tackle break. You know how he stops and jerks, and when he's running at the line a little bit. I expected more. I expected more from the Roosters in general. That's probably why I am blatantly out there trying to offend some Roosters supporters, because the Roosters let me down too.
Yes, I can tell you're trying to bait a few Roosters fans out there. You've already got one shark in the chat, Agent Cheese. Now we're just waiting for the Roosters to pop up. But
yeah. Should we call that? I was listening to another podcast. Should we call the guys in the chat the stream team? I really like that.
That is awful. No.
Oh no.
It's terrible.
The guys that are in the chat, can you just name yourself or something? Please do that for me.
Come up with something, but not the stream team. That is awful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We'll come up with something better than that. I was going to say Tedesco in the rain probably tackles himself more than he gets tackled, because he just over about 10 times a game. So that's probably the only issue there. But mate, the Storm are relevant. You know, we're talking about the Storm for the run home. Harry Grant, 74, fantastic. Sean Blaw, if those of you that got on a pod, you got 101. And Sean Blaw ran like fucking Spencer Leniu off the back fence. all game. I don't know what it was, but it was a change of mentality for Sean Bloor, I reckon, because he ran hard all night, and he was good. Got the rewards with the try as well. Eli Katoa with a 56, fine, still a top 3 2RF on the year, I think. So a guy that if you don't have now, though, the question becomes, do you get Eli Katoa if you don't have him at the moment?
I'd go Keon, honestly. If you don't have Eli Katoa, I'm presuming you don't have Keon because you've sort of if you focused on second row forward earlier on in the year, I think you already have Eli Katoa. But if I didn't have Eli Katoa, I wouldn't. I would just get Keon and take the 80 because I think Eli Katoa, well, let's say Keon scores 70 every week. Eli Katoa scores 50, but Eli Katoa has a lot higher chance of scoring a try and touching that 90 or 100 more than Keon is. That's the way that I see it. I think I'd just take Keon's, 70 every week.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think it's completely fair, especially with Munster coming back. Maybe the Storm become a little bit more left side dominant. They've been playing through the right a lot because Hughes' preference is to go right. So could be the play. Don't mind it. Ryan Pappenhausen, 35. I think if you took a bit of a pod play on Pappy, because he does have a decent run coming up, you just would have had to cop the Sydney game this week, being a tough matchup, but still decent coming into the next 2-3 weeks. Who have they got coming up? They've got the Eels next week, could be anything for Pappy, into the Dragons and Souths over the next 2 rounds. Penrith round 24 is probably where you want to jump off, but not many people have trades for that, so can't really do many link trades at the moment.
Yeah, no, you can't really. Like, if you got Pappy, you made your bed, line it. Much the same as if Turbo rolled out and got me 35 today. I would still hold him till the end of the year or until he's injured. So, look, you got Pappy for a reason. It probably wasn't 4 against the Roosters. But just looking at this scoreline, 24-8, yeah, that stings a little bit. I probably, you scroll down a long way and get to Jerome Hughes there. He got a bit banged up in that game, and it was sort of a little bit of a grind. Like you said, yeah, you've got some Storm targets. You want to get some Storm. I look and I've only got Eli Katoa there. Where do you think you'd be looking? Like Nick Meaney was back this game, but 40 isn't that inspiring. Like, where do you get a piece of the Storm?
Well, I still think Jerome Hughes, depending on who your halfbacks are, you usually, for the most part, anybody in the run in a good rank or in a good spot with their team probably had Hughes and Walker leading up to it, or Hughes and Nico leading up to Nico's injury. So you had to decide what you were going to do there. I know Matt Burton was a really popular choice this week for good reason, because people were jumping off Dylan Brown too. I don't know whether I'd buy Jerome Hughes now, though. I like 822K. He's going to drop about 50K this week, so he's going to be at about 770. And I still don't think I'd buy 770K Jerome Hughes when I could go and get Matt Burton at 550K. Yep. Like, that's about where he's going to be. I prefer Matt Burton and the Bulldogs run home than I would the Storm, knowing that the Storm are in first place and they're 4 points clear. There is every chance that the Storm rest players at the back end of the year, maybe in that final 2 weeks as well.
And if you need to rest a player, right, and you have like Jerome Hughes and you've got Cameron Munster out there, don't you just rest them knowing that Wishart is perfectly capable?
I think the only issue for me with that is that Cam Munster needs some Ks in his legs. And
yeah, but we were talking about Hughes. So
do you reckon they would play Munster and Hughes in the halves? Munster and Wishart in the halves and give Hughes a rest?
I mean, if he needs a rest, he looked a bit banged up in this game.
He copped a cork, I think, in the quad or the leg or something like that. So he was kind of hobbling around a little bit for most of the game, but I can't imagine that's going to affect him too much. But yeah, you're probably right. Like, I mean, they've got Wishart there who's shown that he can be perfectly serviceable in the halves and kind of facilitate whoever else is there with him. But
it's an easy draw. They probably win most games by just putting Wishart and Munster out there. Like, Hughes and Munster don't need to build any sort of connection. They've played together for years.
No, they don't. I think it's more around Munster making sure that he gets enough Ks in his legs and gets some match fitness coming into finals. I think that's probably the way that they'll be thinking. But yeah, you're right. Wishart's been good. Speaking of Wishart, only 41. I mean, you're probably waiting for the time now for Wishart to kind of disappear into the abyss when Munster comes back. But I'd probably argue you can't really wait that long now because he's going to start to leak a fair bit of cash now, I think. He's only going to lose about 10K this week. So I reckon next week could be the time to trade Wishart to a Cleary or someone like that.
I'm not sure. Well, it probably will happen. He's also one of those guys that they'll probably put him on the bench as a utility. So if you wait too long and you've got other priority trades there, like 2 10s, 2 14s, because he's only playing 15 minutes in a row, or maybe they drop a Bronson Garlic and he takes 20 minutes away from Harry Grant or whatever, he's still going to leak a hell of a lot of cash.
Yep. Agreed. I think you probably can use him next week. A lot of people in the chat are saying that they're pretty keen on Hughes to Cleary. I could do that move, but I've got Dylan Brown sitting there as well with that shit draw. So I've got to make a decision on whether I do that. If I did Hughes,
Hughes.
Yeah, I've got Hughes. I bought him in round 12. He's probably been my best purchase this year. He went probably averaged 100 in my team for the last 2 months. He's been awesome.
Yeah.
But it's going to come a time now where I need to decide, do I want to keep him for the run home or do I want to go to Cleary and then I could get Gus? That's the decision I need to make. And do I hold Dylan Brown for the run home now and just play Galvin at 5'8", which I could also do. So, yeah, tricky situation to be in.
There's that buy for the Tigers coming up too. I don't want to give you life advice, but there's a few really tricky buys in this last period.
Yeah, there is for sure. And Dylan Brown, if you kept him, he does have a tough, probably the worst draw in the comp the next 3-4 weeks. But that final 2 weeks is probably the two very favourable matchups where Dylan Brown could be a pod. So if you hold on to him, that's why you're holding him, I think, for those last 2 rounds. Very quickly, mate, before we move on, the show, of course, is always brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, helping you drink responsibly and conveniently. And as I hold my 4-in-1 up, see how it disappears because of my green screen? That's pretty cool. It's like see-through.
Mine doesn't disappear, but the stuff in my can keeps doing that.
Yeah, I bet. Everybody would know you well enough now to know in the comments that. But what's the record at? 8 beers in a podcast?
Yeah, that was a big night.
That was a cracker, yes. But if you want to get yourself a Standard Squeeze 4-in-1, you want to get yourself a Standard Squeeze combo pack there that Matty's got, you can go on their website, thestandardsqueeze.com. It's only 15% off. Use the code IFS15. That'll get you 15% off everything in store. Keep your beers cold, keep your coffees warm in the morning, pour the perfect shot so that you can track how much you've drank. Food grade quality plastic type stuff. And they come in different colors too. Pink. I think I've got a blue one here if you can see it.
That's the one for like your White Claws and stuff like that?
Oh, the thin one. Yeah, they've done a few different sizes, haven't they? They've got the normal, obviously, stubby one, and then they've got that one. So that's pretty cool. And they've got a wine cooler thing as well, like a massive wine bottle cooler where you just put your wine and a bit of ice on either side of it, and it keeps the wine bottle cool at events. So they've got them. You can get them for Mother's Day and shit. And I know that Father's Day is coming up in a couple of months' time. So maybe you can get your
Use code IFS15 and look after the old boy.
That's it, 100%. All right, Panthers, Dolphins, 28-26. Did you call this game of the round?
Oh, I mean, the Dolphins still played.
Yeah, your favourite team, the Dolphins. I thought you would have really enjoyed this one.
You know what? It probably... I mean, like, would you call the Raiders-Warriors game of the round because Chanel Harris-Tavita can't kick and it was close? No, it was really good to see Cleary back. And it was really good to see the Dolphins shit the bed. So, yeah, maybe I will call it a game of the round.
Yeah, they should have won.
I defend some Dolphins supporters, but there is none. So they're just ex-Broncos supporters.
It's kind of true, isn't it? I guess we'll talk about Cleary a little bit later. Dane Laurie, 124, a little bit of a pod play, but Dylan Edwards is back too soon for me to jump on that. Just feels like a bit of a waste of a trade.
There was only like 13 people that brought in Dane Laurie or something silly.
Yeah, okay. Really? I thought there was more than that. 195. Okay. Yeah. So basically 13. So Dane Laurie was good, but matched by Hamiso. Tabuai-Fidow was as big, 124 points for him. Could you justify a little pod play on Hammer at 600K at centre wing?
So here's my logic. Like, yeah, the Dolphins were good against the Penrith reserve grade team today. But the draw for the Dolphins towards the end of the year gets really tight. And what we've seen in like that Storm Roosters game is up against the really good teams, and both those teams are really good. I throw shade, but both those teams are really good. The fullbacks didn't score very well. I know it was a little bit wet, but I think Hammer can probably bang out those 40s. And as much as I love fullbacks at centre wing, it's not people going in with a bad draw that, like, he scored a double. That's fantastic. And he does score a lot of tries, but I was Hamiso's biggest fan. I started with him, went through 6-7 rounds, but I won't be buying Hamiso now. I don't think I can at centre wing. There's too many other 600k options. Like, if you're going to spend 600k for Hamiso, Tabuai, Fido, I think Joey Manu becomes a pod because everyone's traded him out after that. Spend the money there.
Joey Manu is like 15% owned in the top 1%. Like that could be the buy of the week next week. If you went early on Cleary and you've got Gus and all these other well-owned guys that are getting brought next week, you can get Manu next week in his first game back. That could be pretty spicy. And also the Dolphins, I guess if you're inclined to go on a hammer little pod, the Dolphins play the Titans next week, where Turbo just annihilated them. So don't hate
Ripped them to shreds.
Yep. I guess the big talking point here, there's not many other talking points in this team or guys that would be telling you to buy, but Nathan Cleary is a must-own next week. If you faded him this week like me and you were hoping to get him a little bit cheaper, congratulations, you do. You get him at about 60k discount. So you've saved 60k, but you've missed out on 110 points, and I probably would prefer the points personally.
Yeah, look, I looped him, which was disappointing, but I'm so happy that I jumped on. Especially, I saw that first try assist, and I'm just like, he looks so good. And it'll be interesting to see how he goes beside Luai. Now that Luai has sort of taken over that ball handling, he's been wearing the number 7 on his back. But I still think Cleary averages 80 through the rest of the year. And when there's been so many question marks at halfback, like even Matt Burton, like, yeah, he's a good buy at 500k. There's still some big question marks around him. There's still big question marks around Dylan Brown. There's still question marks around Hughes. Cleary is just somebody that you need to own.
Yeah, I saw enough in this game. Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Like the reason I faded him this week was because there was an article floating around with quotes from Ivan Cleary saying that they were going to hand off the majority of the in-play kicking to the other halfback or the other half in the team to ease Nathan back into the game, and he was going to take it slow and all this kind of shit. And then he comes out and kicks goals, kicks 500 meters in play. Schneider kicked, I think, 47 meters for the whole game. So led up the garden path a little bit, and that's on me. I, usually don't react too much to a source unless it's like a one that I trust. And that one got me.
Can I say in Ivan's defense, Paul Alamotti broke his arm or whatever he did. Paul Alamotti lined up to take the first, the first kick in play, I suppose, the kickoff. I wondered if the plan was to get him to do the goal kicking and a few things like that, or maybe give Nathan a go to start off with and then letting Alamotti do it, and then, a broken fucking arm. And, Nathan Cleary's back in the game.
Yeah, Michael Clark would have been sitting at home looking at Alamotti, really. He would have been stoked.
I've had basketball references. I've had cricket references. I don't know anything about NHL, but, I mean, I wish the Dolphins would puck off.
That would, yeah. You're not a Dolphins fan. Fresh Prince in the chat. What will Nathan Cleary's price be? So Jay Schubert puts up the predicted prices and cash loss and all that. He's got Cleary losing 60k this week, and that's if his score stays at 109, which I think he'll upgrade a little bit. So we'll get Nathan Cleary at 745 if he stays where he is right now, which is nice. I feel like I'm still getting him at a discount at 745. To be fair, you're probably still getting him at a discount at fucking 805 anyway, with what we know he can do. But next week's the week. You've got to grab him. So Fresh
Prince mentioned that he didn't watch it. Have you seen a better 40-plus field goal? Because that was not well lined up. That was the wrong direction. 15 meters in, 10 meters in from the sideline?
It was a very tough kick. And it didn't feel like it was planned either. It was like they got a bigger run out of, I think, their fourth or fifth tackle option or whatever. And he was
Liotta, I think.
Yeah, fair way to the right as well. So it definitely wasn't anywhere near centre. It was probably like 42, 43 metres out, and he absolutely fucking nailed it. I have seen better ones, but I've seen better 2-point field goals from Nathan Cleary. You know,
Yeah.
like the one that we did last year was like one of the best I think you'll ever see from like 50 out. But it was close. So yeah, buy him. That's the message. After the 5 minutes of ranting about Nathan Cleary, just buy him next week if you don't have him.
Yep. Look, I'm just going to give Moses Leota a bit of a rap. That was probably the best game I've ever seen him play. He scored that try, took meters up the middle. I know they were missing their origin stars, but he really stood up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not overly surprised. He's a quality player. Like he had 12 runs and 10 of them were over 8 meters. So, you know, the guy was just barnstorming up the middle, very Spencer Lenu TPJ like up the middle of the park. I thought you'd like me throwing in a TPJ reference, considering you're his biggest fan. I'm surprised you haven't talked about him yet, to be honest.
No. I've got to scroll down a bit further past my my player Jermaine Asako to get to him. So
hopefully everybody jumped off Trey Fuller as well. He only got 5 and played fuck all minutes at the back end of the game. His time is up. But mate, let's move on to Manly Titans. The game that everybody was waiting on this week, led by Tom Trbojevic, 158 points. There's really not much to say. Again, like we're talking about Cleary as a must-have next week. I'm assuming people jumped on a fullback. But if you've got a fullback, if you've got a dual centre wing in fullback or something like that, would you trade out a Dom Young or trade out one of these premium centre wings to get Turbo in?
Well, yeah, he's going to be 800K. I'd definitely trade out a Val Holmes. Mm-hmm. I would definitely trade out a Jacob Carraz. I don't know if Dom Young's the trade, but I would definitely trade it. I'd trade out Ruben Garrick to get Turbo, to be honest.
Fuck, really? I mean, so okay, I get the Garrick one. You said you'd trade out Carraz. I wouldn't. I think Carraz could average close to 100 on the run home with what the Bulldogs draw like.
But so's Turbo. Like, you're saying that you don't have a fullback, and I'm presuming you can't afford to go a Kailero or a Ronnie Mulatalo or one of those lower guys. Like, yeah, I definitely don't trade a gun. You keep all those guys, but if you need a sideways trade, I would trade, 700 odd K Carraz, 700 odd K Val Holmes. I don't even know what price he is after I traded.
I think Val's going to be like sub 600 now. He's been
yeah. He's like Jack Bostock money.
Yeah, not good. We'll talk about him soon. But yeah, Turbo, I'm glad I bought this week. I'm glad I captained this week. That's probably why I scored well. I think anybody that scored well this week had Turbo as captain. And against the Titans, I think you can bank that most fullbacks will score well against the Titans for the run home. It's been a trend all year that you can probably be pretty confident about. Luke Brooks with 113. Looked good. Ran the ball well. DCE back in the team, freed him up a little bit, which is what we know. No one's buying him though. But Ruben Garrick, 82, solid. Fafita, 84, great. You're not trading either of these guys out. Keep him for the run home. Enjoy it. I mean, it's Tuesday is going to be obviously a lot more in-depth chat around trades and stuff like that. But we've got some feedback and some things we're going to try on Tuesday to kind of make it a little bit more relevant with minimal trades and head-to-head finals coming up as well. So stay tuned for that. But anybody else stand out for you in this one?
I really like, if you can't afford David Fafita, both for me, he's good. He's been scoring really well. I think he's got a 3-round average of 56. You're paying 500K for him. I just think if you did want a piece of the Titans pie, I don't know why you would, but I do think the second row forward, center wing eligibility, I got a lot of questions about him, and I was like, yeah, I don't hate it, like, because everybody's talking primo second row forward. Now that Cam Murray's out, both Irma was probably that guy.
I'm not buying him at 2RF. I'd buy him at center wing. Yeah. But even then, do I want to buy him? Do I want to buy a Titans player? No, probably not. Like, they've got the Dolphins next week, who just shown that they can keep up with the Panthers. Then they play the Broncos into the Sharks.
But they still let in points. Like, they score points, but they still let in a lot of points. Like, it doesn't actually matter who wins.
Yeah.
For Supercoach. Yeah, well, I don't think I actually like. I've heard people like listening to like I don't know, maybe it's NRL 360 or something, and I always thought it was Beau Fermor, but they were like talk about him as if he's Beau Fermor or something. I
Yeah,
don't
go
know.
for more. For more. It's not that hard to say. You said it, you kind of left the R off the end. It was like and you threw a random H in there somewhere. But for more.
I'm from Australia, mate.
Yes. Well, I'm sure Beau Fermor is Australian as well, or close to it. He's got some Aussie in him. But yeah, you're right. I don't mind him as an option, and the centre wing duel is nice. I'd probably just be spending elsewhere with a little bit more upside than him at centre wing if I was going to get him in there. But the one person actually that I was toying around with a little bit was Chris Randall. You know, now that he's locked down that 13 jersey, I actually didn't mind him initially, but he only scored 40 odd this week, 520k. So not overly exciting. And people ripping on you in the chat about it.
Thanks. I love the stream team getting involved.
Oh fuck. Mate, everyone's
nobody come up with a better name. It's the stream team till now.
It's not. It's gross. I'm going to come up with something way better than that. Yeah, but you're probably not buying anybody from the Titans, unfortunately. There's nobody cheap enough to really be a facilitator of another trade in the future. And we don't have enough trades at this point to be doing those trades. So, but we do need to talk about Jaden Campbell, don't we? 32. And I think 32 is his absolute floor, to be fair, from what we've seen from him.
I mean, he got pumped. I'm only shit stirring. He's going to be still 800k next week. I say he's definitely not a sell. If you got on him at 500 odd, right, you could basically make money going Jaden Campbell to Cleary.
Yeah,
because everybody's got all those halfback duels due to injuries this year. Like Jaden Campbell, this is him.
Yeah, I think this is the worst of him.
He's rocks and diamonds, cheese and crackers.
When the Titans don't score points, he's going to score 30. He's going to get 25, 27, 32. And he always has through his whole career. But the Titans need to score points. They might score points next week against the Dolphins. So you've got to make a tough decision on whether you end up trading Jaden Campbell to Cleary, even though there is a good matchup. So that's the tricky decision to make next week. But I think it is the right play. I'd definitely rather trade Jaden Campbell now that he's done his job and he's made you all that coin. You don't want to waste it. Like his break even is going to be 120 next week based on Jay Schubert. So now is the time next week to jump off him. If cash gen was the reason you got him in, you've got the points as a bonus. Now you can move him to Cleary.
Yeah. It's either, hold him till round 27 or sell him next week.
Yep. Spot on. No one really that I'd be buying from the Manly Sea Eagles aside from Turbo, Garrick. Tommy Talau seems to be pretty solid as well. I'm not buying him, but he was all right in this game as well. But
you're not paying 500k for him. Like he's one of those guys when he bottoms out at, I know I'm particular again at 387. You just get him, and then he can go on runs. So
for sure. Last game of the round, mate. 2018. Everyone was correcting me in the chat and said that this is probably the game of the round, or that. Which you know what, fair call. I probably agree with it. Pretty good finish. 20-18 to the Cowboys. You know what? The Cowboys actually looked resilient. They played hard footy. They grinded out a win against a really good team in the Bulldogs this year, who are no pushovers by any means.
This was my kicker for Punt Club because I thought Bulldogs were great. Not the Insight Punt Club, a different one with the boys. But I was on the doggies, so I was screaming the other direction. But again, as the Dolphins have come along, the Titans are growing on me a bit. The Cowboys are growing on me a bit. I think I've softened in my old age. And Helam Lukey, I really liked him. I think that the Cowboys can make a little bit of noise. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and start with Val Holmes because I don't think he can make any noise. He has been extremely disappointing.
He's a mute. That's how much noise he's making. You know, there's nothing going on that edge. And he was on the left
He won't
wing.
play Origin again. He's a better chance playing for the Jets than he is playing Origin again.
He was on the left wing for the most of this game. I thought, he could snag a pretty easy try on the left wing. I like him on the wing, but he's just not getting any ball. So, like,
Yes.
I've
So-
got him. Go.
Yeah, sorry. Like when I have a look, like he's not like terrible. He's terrible for Supercoach. And this is Supercoach podcast, so
Yeah. I mean, most of our takes are always Supercoach related. We're not bagging players and saying that they're shit.
bagging.
Yeah, that's a good one. If we could find a casino reference in there somewhere, it'd suit perfectly. But yeah, I've got Val Holmes. I don't know whether I'm going to trade him. I feel like I probably missed that window to move him on, but he's been pretty ordinary. The bonus is that when Cowboys score tries, he gets to kick the easy goals, and that's pretty much the only benefit that to owning Val Holmes. Ruben Cotter, 55. Tom Dearden. I'll tell you what, like, we haven't talked about Origin, but Tom Dearden was probably one of the best on ground for Queensland Wednesday night, and then he's gone and backed it up and been nearly one of the best on ground for the Cowboys tonight.
Yeah, no, Tom Dearden was great. Even Ruben Cotter, like he was fantastic as well. Like these Queenslanders looked hurt, and again, make some noise down the stretch because Tom Dearden, like playing Origin, like he come in at the end of that game at the end of game 3 last year, due to Cam Munster being out. It's done him a world of good. He's been fantastic basically since then.
Yeah. Obviously, the time in Queensland camps really, really helped him. So, good on him. He's played some good footy.
Remember how I told you I fucked up NRL fantasy and I captained Ruben Cotter? He did fantastic today.
What did he score in fantasy?
I don't know. I got 118 with the captain on him. So, 60.
Yeah, that's handy. I captained Teddy in fantasy. I'm fucking 30th overall. And you know what? I put so much time into my team this week. And that's the problem. I haven't been doing it all year. I've just gone, here's a random trade for fantasy and not thought about it too much and done well. So that's the issue. I'm not going to think about my trades anymore.
I brought in Cleary, Jai Gray, Burton. I held Gagai. Who else did I bring in? Maybe I brought in Tedesco as well. So, rocks and diamonds.
Yeah, very much so. But Teddy usually won't score that poorly again for the rest of the season, I wouldn't have thought. Nobody that I'm looking at as a purchase for the Cowboys. I've only got a very small amount of targets. And I would assume, I'd love to know in the chat for those of you that are going to be sticking around for the next 5 minutes, how many trades you have left. Because I'm sitting on 7 right now. I think Maddie's got 8, maybe. He'll answer that when he gets back. But I guess for our content for the run home, we're going to have to try and cater the content to what you guys need. And I think with such a small amount of trades left and needing some trades for injuries and things like that for the run home, it's going to be quite tricky. Corey's got 5. I'm sure a few. Yeah, Grimesy's got 2. Grimesy's been riding by the seat of his pants for the last month or so with 2 trades left, 7 for Ian, 9 for Jake. So yeah, we're looking at anywhere between that, probably 4 to 9, 4 to 10 mark. So yeah, you've got to be really selective with the players that you're bringing in now. We can't just go and bring in link trades and players to then move on and make 200K and then trade to someone else. We've got to get guys in for the run home to finalize teams. So I don't know whether I'm going to be looking at too many Cowboys just based on their draw being so hit and miss. So probably not the play. But the Bulldogs have been good. Josh Curran, I said it on Tuesday, and I think I said it on the Unlimited Q&A as well. Josh Curran, now that Max King looks to be out for the season with that fractured hand, I think it was, fractured wrist, his minutes were fucking massive. He scored 76 Supercoach points. I'm going to quickly check his minutes. But I think he had a 5-minute spell off the field, and that was pretty much it. I know that Josh Curran is a massive minute guy, and he played at prop for pretty much the whole game, made 43 tackles. I reckon he was nearly their best on ground. He played 73 minutes at prop. Like, if you still have Josh Curran, play him every week as your front row forward too, because he was huge. And if this continues, he could be a guy that you rely on every week at front row.
Yeah, love Josh Curran. I think that he's going to be fantastic down the stretch. I was listening. I actually have less trades than you now due to the whole SJ Nico fiasco, where I had to burn 2 trades on Nico. I held SJ through that whole period only to watch him lose a ton of cash and then still having to trade him out because he was injured. So yeah, I'm way behind you there. Now I think I have 6. So
yeah, I've got 7. So if you're behind me, you'd have 1 less.
But I was saving them. I was going well, and like even this week, like Dylan Edwards and stuff being out. If maybe it worked out okay, but I'm not sure I would have traded in Cleary and Turbo this week if Dylan Edwards and that were playing. So
yeah. No, Ian, not Josh's new adult set. This is my my lovely man cave that I just created when I Googled a picture of a man cave. So, yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry for the letdown. But, hey, get your votes in for what the green screen's going to show next week on Tuesday. It might I think Josh is back on Tuesday, he did say. So, maybe we'll get to see the washing basket.
I think I might not be here.
Yeah, maybe not. So, you'll get to see Josh's futon as well. I'm sure everybody's missed seeing the background. Karaz 72, solid. Is he a buy? Oh, probably not at the price, but definitely a guy that if you've got right now, you can just hold for the year. He's fantastic. And also, my screen has frozen. Bear with me. Would be nice if the scores came out. There we go. Matt Burton, 71 was my purchase this week. I ended up going Nico Hines to Matt Burton instead of Cleary this week. And there's a fair bit of cash sitting there ready to get Cleary in. But 71, I'm pretty happy with that. That's only 30 less than Cleary, really. So I can handle.
Sure. Talk yourself into it.
Fresh Prince with the green screen Mattrix in the background with his pink drinking thing. Yeah. Someone thought it was a flashlight in that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know what? The guys at the Standard Squeeze do a great job. I even pour coffee in that sometimes. They don't even advertise that can do coffee, but I don't really drink White Claws that often, so I just started putting coffee in it once they started sending me some of their promo stuff. It works in that too.
Good call. What's anything else that you like here from the Bulldogs? They've got a good draw. We've been talking about them a fair bit, but
not really. The great news is, with the injury to Max King, you're talking about Josh Curran, but Sam Hughes scored 39 instead of 26.
That is very positive, especially in a round where a lot of people needed that 39 points.
Oh, yeah, I did.
So a lot of people played short this week. I ended up having 18, so I didn't need his score, but I think if you got through this round unscathed, you captain Turbo, maybe you bought Cleary early and you made a few of the right moves and you only need 15 or 16 players, you can consider that a massive win, I think. Even if you don't move forward much and don't have massive green arrows, I think that if you save some trades and didn't chase a number this week just for the sake of it, you probably feel pretty good about it.
Wouldn't you be spewing, though, if you went Appy to Reed Marnie, 21?
Yeah, that hurts. I bought Reed Marnie in fantasy, and he was much better in fantasy. I think he got 40-odd in fantasy. But 43. Yeah, that's fine for fantasy. But, yeah, 21 for Reed Marnie, not great. But, that's probably buying Cook or probably buying Harry Grant now at hooker. So,
yep.
Should be fine. I do like this suggestion from Jamie Camilleri. The green scheme could be the eighth wonder of the world, Leichhardt Oval. And then I also see Mark here saying that Farah sitting on the scoreboard at Leichhardt for the green screen. And I'll tell you what, this is at the moment. That's probably one of my favorite images of all time. Robbie Farah sitting there in his suit, drinking his beer by himself.
There's some really big plays from the stream team today. They're coming up with good things, but they're not coming up with a name for themselves.
Brother, what's that?
That's every time you say green screen, every single time you say stream team, it fucking rhymes. You're gonna cop that. You're gonna cop that soundbite every single time you say stream team because it's gross. Don't agree with him either. Don't egg him on. This is where things stick, and you're gonna regret it.
It's a very serious podcast here.
It is. Yeah, very, very serious.
The great news is 5 people left the chat as soon as I mentioned stream team. So
yeah, you're costing us viewers here, mate. But we'll talk about trade thoughts very soon. But if we should give a shout out to Ryan from Astute Newstead, long-term sponsor of the podcast. And if you are a home owner and your rates are above 6.2%, you want to buy a home, maybe you want to refinance your current home, save some cash, whatever it be, you can reach out to Ryan from Astute Newstead for an obligation and a cost-free inquiry. And I might even get him on the pod. How about that? I might get him on the pod in the next week, 2 weeks, and he can talk to you about it himself. Sounds pretty good.
Cool. Sounds good. Hear his deep, luscious voice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mate, before we wrap it up, what are your thoughts for next week? You might not get to talk to everybody on Tuesday, depending on how things go. So what are you thinking early trade thoughts?
Oh, I'm hoping none. Sitting here with 6. If I do burn a trade, I think it's probably to somebody like a Payne Haas or a genuine gun. I'm sitting there with 287K in the bank. And look, now that I've got Nathan Cleary probably that week early, I don't have to burn the trade next week. I've already got Angus Crichton, so I'm okay with that. And if Api Coruscant plays, it'll only be, I'm going to call it a luxury trade, but it'll be like a Fainu to Haas or somebody like that if I can afford it.
Mhm.
Fainu lost a little bit of money, so I'm a bit worried I can't get there. No, I will. 287. No, I'll be right. Yeah, maybe a Fainu to Haas, if anything. But the idea, I've basically made my bed everywhere else. I'm probably holding Kaeliro for the year. I'm playing Ronnie Mulatalo on matchups. And yeah, I feel like I'm in a good place. I know the trades are scary, but I feel like I'm in a good place.
Yeah, good. I think I'm 2 to 3 trades away from my team being finished, which will allow me to have either 4 or 5 trades for injuries for the final 6 weeks, which I feel okay about. I think 4 to 5 trades is enough. I would like 2 trades for the final round because I know there's going to be mass restings and it's just going to be carnage like it was last year. So I think having 2 trades for the final round is important. I just need to work out what I'm going to do because I've got Ola Kawatu sitting on the bench. I want to hold him. I've got Katoa, Nikora, and Fafita all at 2RF, but I really want Gus. So I need to decide how. Ideally, I'd like to get Kai Pearce-Paul to Gus, but I'm just not sure now that Gus upgraded a little bit. He's not going to lose enough cash for me to be able to get to him. And also, Cleary scored too many for me to be able to make those 2 trades work.
Fuck, I love when you explain that because that is the reason I held on to Gus because I knew I wanted him. I knew he had a shit run. I knew he was only playing 1 in 4 or whatever he was doing. But like, I could just see myself burning 3 trades wanting him back.
Yeah, and whilst I don't think I'll burn 3 trades, I think it'll be trickier. I can't just get him in comfortably now, which is the reason why you held. But again, he hasn't really hurt me not owning him. I feel like I'm ahead by trading him out. It's just now I've got to make the decision to get him back in. So hopefully Kai Pearce-Paul to him, or it might have to be a Terrell May to him next week, depending on what his break even looks like, or it might even be a Terrell May to AFB and wait a week on Crichton. But the one trade I'm pretty much locked in on is either Jerome Hughes to Cleary or Dylan Brown to Cleary. The one thing I'm looking at with Dylan Brown is just this next 4 weeks looks fucking putrid. Like no Moses either. So he will go to halfback. We looked at his stats and he only ends up averaging, I think, 4 or 5 points more at halfback than he does at 5'8". So the games without Moses, he did have a little bit of a bump, but not enough for me to look at it and go, great, I want to keep him.
I know that wasn't this year, but we have always talked about Dylan Brown as if he's matchup proof, though. He makes a lot of tackles, sort of grinds away a little there. Quite often when they're down, he takes a few more runs and sort of grabs the ball and tries to get out there. He does score more without Moses, so I'm not as sold as him as a trade. If I had 10 trades, would I change that? I don't know. I'm not in that position. But with 6 trades, I definitely think Dylan Brown, I will still own him at the end of the year.
I think I am leaning. So we look at the next 4 rounds. He's got the Warriors next. Got the Melbourne Storm in round 21. So tough matchup coming up. But it is at CommBank. Into the Warriors round 22. But then he's got Panthers, Roosters, Broncos back to back 3, 4, 5. The kicker for me is that Dragons, Tigers. I will go to the round 27 Tigers game at Campbelltown Stadium. And I wouldn't mind owning him for that game because that might be a score put on us, I think. It could be Battle for the Spoon in round 27 as well, and I do not want to miss that. That'll be fun. But I'm leaning towards you clearing now.
Hearing that just makes me so happy I'm not a Tigers supporter.
Yeah, probably the rest of them as well. I think everybody would feel that way. But you know what it's taught me? Resilience, Mattrix. Resilience. Resilience. It's taught me patience. And it's taught me to hate rugby league. So, no, I don't. I joke. But it has been tough. And you know what? My son is going to be taught resilience because I'm going to make him follow the Tigers. And that's not a decision he can make.
You know, I was a Knights supporter when I was a kid because Dad tried to make me a Broncos supporter, and I didn't ever do what I was told.
I remember you were saying you got signed jersey from like Tamana Tahu and Andrew Johns
And
that.
Andrew Johns and Michael Hagan. That was the first game at Suncorp, and it's just we were there. Lang Park was getting rebuilt. My local team was playing the curtain raiser to the curtain raiser, so I was there, and the boys were just. We looked across the stadium, and the boys were just there. So yeah, I ducked across as a little 12 or 14-year-old kid, and just got all my stuff signed. They were so polite and just signed everything, and took the time. It was probably it's probably one of the reasons I'm here, still talking about rugby league.
Yeah, cool. Oh, they turned it into a love of the game then. That's cool. Good on the Knights. Unfortunately, not playing some good football this week, but hopefully that turns around for them so we can look at Ponga around 23. That would be lovely. But, trade thoughts will probably change throughout the week. So if you want to know what our trades are, you can become an Insight Unlimited member, or we are working on a Patreon for next year. So stay tuned for that. That'll be fun. But join the Discord for free as well, which essentially everyone should do. Come in, have a chat about some Supercoach. If you like fantasy sport, you got that in there as well, and all the other Supercoach sports. And you've got NBL coming up pretty soon. As soon as the rugby league season wraps up, you pretty much move straight into NBL preseason, don't you?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited. I've been watching a few of the guys that we might pick up for NBL get signed, and I've been watching a bit of tape in the background. I just love basketball. So I playing it, coaching it, playing all the fantasy basketballs. There's a lot going on there. Hammer and I will have a banging season this year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think I came 400th last year, and I think you ended up beating me at the end of the year. Would you come 300th?
Yeah, 360 something. But there's obviously less people that play that, but you listen to the podcast and you work out the draw, and it's smooth sailing.
Yeah, we got BBL. I got me and the horse do BBL at the end of the year as well. So preseason will start in October, but we still got like nearly 8 weeks left of NRL, so we're good. We've got heaps of time left to go up those rankings. So jump in the Discord, have a chat with us, and hit up the sponsors of the show as well. All the links are in the description below. Appreciate all the love. And you know what? The one thing we haven't talked about yet is your little shirt, Father's Day stuff, and your Mattrix's one rule. It's not what you spend, it's what you save. And now it's on a shirt, Matty. So congratulations.
I made it.
On a shirt.
Look, I've made it. It's something that I live my life by. When my wife's telling me I'm gonna buy this, it's on special. Sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save. So
Yeah. That's I'm going to make sure my wife never hears that saying so that she can't use it against me, because otherwise I'll go broke. But you can get our merch. You can buy Insight stuff. It is in the Insight store. It's in the link in the description if you want to rep our stuff. We would love that. But that will do us for the week. Round 20 is done, thank God. And I'm stoked to get into the final 7 rounds of the year so we can start wasting all of our trades. But we'll have a chat about trades, captains, and the draw and everything like that on Tuesday. It'll be Josh and I, and maybe Matt. We'll see how we go. But I'm looking forward to chatting about the run home. So stick around. We'll see you Tuesday night. Not quite sure what time, but keep an eye on our socials and we'll let you know. Otherwise, that'll do us. See you then. Have a good one.
Lando to win. Cheerio.